Happy New Year and welcome, everyone, to episode 14 of Video Game Club, where every 2 weeks we play and discuss a game voted on by you. I'm Tyler, and I have with me today the man, the myth, the voice of the internet, Mr. Bombchu himself, Austin.
Hello.
And of course, it's going. And of course, it would not be a Video Game Club meeting without the amazing and wonderful Mox.
Hello.
Hey, Mox. So, I'm going to open up with another question suggested from the audience. If you could make a sequel to any game, what game would you make a sequel of? I'm going to start with Mox.
My favorite game is Chibi Robo. It's this, I don't know, a lot of people have played it, but a lot of people know about this tiny game. But it was on the GameCube, and you played a tiny little robot that ran around and cleaned things, and all the toys in the house were alive. I don't want to spoil it because it's so good and everybody should play it. But I feel like there should be like a real sequel made to it, and not the stupid. There's like a park adventure game, which is not the RPG that you want. And there's another one that was like for the 3DS, which had this stupid mechanic of you don't get to choose what level you play. You have to run a roulette to choose what level you play, but you have to complete all of the levels to move on to like the next set of levels. Which whose idea was that? Anyway.
Mox, are you telling me that you didn't like Ziplash?
No, but I bought it just so I could have the what's it called?
The amiibo.
The amiibo, and I have it. It's in its box still, and I love it. And I never played the game.
The amiibo function was so stupid, anyways. It was like, every time you collect trash, you can put it into your amiibo until it turns gold. And what does that do for you? Nothing.
What crazy person on what drugs made this game and called it a Chibi Robo game? Who knows? What a waste of the IP. Anyway, a real sequel to Chibi Robo.
Not bitter at all. I don't. Austin, what about you?
I would, just off the top of my head, I would love a sequel to Fez, because it was supposed to happen, and then it didn't happen because reasons. And man, I was very sad when that got canceled. I also would not mind just like a Super Mario Brothers 3 2, or a proper Super Mario World 2 that isn't Yoshi's Island. Like, Yoshi's Island is great, but that's not Mario World 2.
Yeah.
At least not to me.
I am going to pick a weird one. I want to see Minecraft 2.
What? Go on, sorry.
I know. So Minecraft is like it's more of like a service game, right, at this point. Like there's all kinds of, it's expanded upon by all constantly being updated and mods and all that stuff. But I would love to see like a Minecraft 2. Like, I don't know, just completely new game. I don't think it'll ever happen, but I just think it would
all
be
spheres
interesting
instead of cubes.
I mean, maybe. I don't know, something. I just want to see some innovation, something.
Do you want them to change the engine?
That would be great.
What more do you want from Minecraft that isn't in the game right now? That would require a new game.
I don't know. I just want to see what that would be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
I don't want to be the one that makes it or say what's in it, but I want to see what the devs would do with a version 2.
I mean, like Terraria is supposedly going to have a version 2, which again is a similar game. Like
exactly.
But Terraria at least has a story. There are build up to bosses and more than the story, quote unquote, story of Minecraft. So it makes sense for Terraria too.
What, you're not going to fight the Elder Dragon too?
Exactly. See? Exactly. That's what I want. I just want to see what it would be like. I don't think we'll ever get it though, ever.
No.
Because there's no sense in them doing that. Mm-hmm. Anyway, that was a question from our audience. If you have a question that you would like to ask the panel here, just submit it in Video Game Club or message me directly on Discord, and I'll add it to be asked. All right, before we get started, let's go over what the options were. They were Far Cry 3, Blood Dragon, Alan Wake's American Nightmare. And lastly, the game that was picked, What Remains of Edith Finch. If you are not happy with What Remains of Edith Finch, then shame on you for not voting. No. You should join us over in the Bombchu Discord to cast your vote. You can find a link to the Bombchu Discord in the description of the VOD version of this video. And there's probably one on Twitch somewhere, Austin, right?
Yeah, there should be.
Yeah.
If it's not working, somebody let me know and I'll update that or post it in chat.
Now, before we get started and What Remains of Edith Finch, I cannot continue without asking you guys, what have you been playing besides What Remains of Edith Finch? Mox.
Well, other than Final Fantasy XIV. I was deciding on games to submit for my selection for the next video game club. And I went with a theme of like alternate control styles than we're used to, other than like FPS style or like even with like Edith Finch, you just like two sticks moving around, looking around, 3D, first person or third person. And I broke into my old cache of these like Nancy Drew point and click adventure games. And I just love them so much. You just like, they're just stupid point and click adventures with puzzles and really bad voice acting and like the worst video game engine ever. But they're just like so nostalgic for me. And I almost made you guys play one, but I know everyone in the entire world would hate it. So I didn't make you play it.
It's very gracious of you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you. Austin, what about you?
I finished Assassin's Creed 4 and Freedom Cry, which Freedom Cry was great. I highly recommend anybody getting into Assassin's Creed. Most of the DLCs you can skip, but Freedom Cry, very good. And I have been working on Assassin's Creed Rogue, which I'm a little more than halfway through, and that's a weird game. It's yeah, I'll leave it at that. That's a very weird game.
What inspired you to go through all of the Assassin's Creeds?
I started working on that maybe, I want to say like 7 or 8 years ago. And I every couple of years I make some progress on. I'll do like a chunk of the games. It's one that I've always like anytime one that comes out, everyone's just like, "Oh my god, it's so good!" I'm like, well, I'm so behind on the series. Like, I should catch up. And so that's kind of what's been happening with Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla.
Aren't they mostly independent in terms of story? Other than
they've all got an overarching story.
Yeah.
Is it necessary to play them in order and all of them?
You probably don't have to, but I that's how I prefer to do it.
Wow. Good to know.
Nice. Yeah. Next is Unity, right?
Yeah, I'll probably be taking a break after Rogue because I've done. That's a lot of Assassin's Creed Rapid Fire, but it'll be Unity, Syndicate, and then I'll be on the Modern Trilogy.
Gotcha. Nice. I have started Yakuza Like a Dragon, and it's really funny and really serious at the same time. It's great, and I'm gonna continue slowly chipping away at it. Besides that, though, I haven't really been playing a lot of World War Z, but that's mainly it. But we're not here to talk about any of those games. We're here to talk about What Remains of Edith Finch, a first-person narrative adventure game developed by Giant Sparrow, based in Santa Monica, California, published by our good friends Annapurna Interactive. And the game was released on April 25th, 2017 on PC and PS4 initially, and then came to Xbox and Switch later. As always, let's dive in a little bit to what was going on in 2017. What a year. 2017. I didn't realize how good we had it in 2017. Just in general.
That was a big year for games.
I mean, hardware, we got the Switch, the SNES Classic, the new 2DS XL, the Xbox One X. Software, we have Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, Star Fox 2, Persona 5, Divinity Original Sin 2, Horizon Zero Dawn, PUBG. I mean...
Did Nier Automata come out that year?
Maybe?
I want to... yeah, anyways.
Like, it's just insane. It was such like a great year. Yeah.
Yeah.
I assume everyone here has dabbled in at least one of those titles.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Horizon Zero Dawn. Give me the next one right now.
I mean, it's on its way. They're working on it. They showed you a trailer.
I don't watch trailers.
What Remains of Edith Finch was developed using the Unreal Engine 4. So let's dive a bit into the history, and let's start with the companies. Giant Sparrow was founded in 2009, and like I mentioned before, it was based in Santa Monica, California. It's led by their creative director, Ian Dallas. They've developed one other game before What Remains of Edith Finch, which was called The Unfinished Swan, which is also a first-person narrative adventure game. Have any of you played it?
Yeah, it's a PS Plus game.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, you might not have. I mean, it was a while ago.
I'll have to check. I may have played it.
I had it in my collection, and I played it when it first came out. Because, again, you would think these kinds of like first-person narrative adventure games would be right up my alley, but I didn't like that one either. But the idea of it was cool.
She's just continuing the troll.
We'll get into it.
All right. And then it was published by Annapurna Interactive, which was founded in 2016, based in West Hollywood, California. It's a division.
Wait. Was Annapurna as a conglomerate founded in 2016, or just their like video game arm?
Just the video game arm.
Okay.
It's a division of Annapurna Pictures.
Yes.
What Remains of Edith Finch was their first published game.
Oh wow.
After that, they published Flower. And this publisher is now famous for bangers like Florence, Gorogoa, Donut County, Gone Home, Outer Wilds, Journey, and many others.
All of those excellent games.
They have an upcoming game called 12 Minutes, which looks really interesting that they're publishing. It's an Xbox exclusive, I believe. But anytime I see a trailer with Annapurna Interactive in it, I know it's going to be something that is at least interesting. Like, it may not be for me, but I know that it's going to like make me feel something.
It'll make you think. Yeah.
Or make me think, yeah. So those are little tidbit of the history, and we'll go into a little bit more of Annapurna Interactive as we discuss What Remains of Edith Finch, and maybe a bit about The Unfinished Swan as well. But moving right along here, What Remains of Edith Finch. It's a game that consists of 13 short stories about a cursed family, each with unique and expressive gameplay. It was described by Dallas as an interactive experience that evokes what it feels like to have a moment of finding something beautiful, yet overwhelming. And Dallas embodied this concept by using his own experience as a scuba diver and seeing the ocean fall off in the distance. The floating captions that you see when you play the game was the direct result of this concept of a scuba diver. Now, the team struggled a bit implementing this concept until Ian explained a shark falling in the forest with a child saying, "And then suddenly, I was a shark." And you guys know what this is about Molly's story, which we'll go into a little later, but this sparked the idea to move to more like strange and unnatural scenarios when developing the game. And as I mentioned before, that quote is from Molly's story, which was the first concept that they worked on, was Molly's story. After this, the team split up and they made 12 other scenarios with this inspiration of like this strange and unnatural feeling. Now, the next challenge when they were developing this game was to come up with a framing device, because you have all these, short stories, but there's no like way to tell them in a way that, makes sense, right? And so they considered a scenario similar to the Canterbury Tales that was based in a high school, but they soon realized that placing these scenarios in context of a cursed family would work better, similar to like Twilight Zone. So the next thing they needed to decide was, well, where do we tell these stories? And so they spent a lot of time thinking about that, and of course they came up with this house where they would tell these stories in as you were exploring it. One of the big things about this house that was important to them were the bedrooms and how they decorated them. Their goal was to have that bedroom tell you a lot about that family member without explicitly telling you, like writing it out. So,
give me an example.
So, for example, in Molly's room, seen like, let's see, I think Molly's probably a bad example. What's her name?
The movie star?
Yes, Barbara.
Yeah.
Barb.
I feel like Barbara's room, seen like the posters on the wall and what was in her room. Other things.
It was
like
all
that.
sorts of stuff involving like her career as an actress.
Yeah.
Like, I definitely see what you mean. You also had the kid who wanted to go to space, and his room was all space stuff. And,
I see.
And
Okay.
decorated and
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the team also recognized that from some of these mini experiences they created, they wanted to leave them open-ended as to exactly what happened. And they wanted to do that to follow the convention of like a weird fiction, to leave the player questioning if the mini experiences they had played through are grounded in reality or not. And I think that comes off really well in this game. They didn't want to make a horror game, and they were really careful not to do that. It was very important to them that they didn't make a horror game. The game actually started out titled The Nightmares of Edith Finch, and they soon realized that, no, that's a bit too scary. And so they backed out of that and renamed it to the game's final title. While they were developing the game, the ending was considered the most difficult part for the team, according to Ian Dallas, as they didn't know how to end a game that was filled with many experiences. It was kind of like, you know, they, as these many experiences like go on, this like sense of like unease is kind of elevated with each one. They opted to go into, they would like, as they were thinking about this, they were thinking like maybe that it should go off with a bang, but they actually decided to not do that and go off a different ending that's intended to give the player more closure instead. So instead of escalating, they went with more closure, which we won't spoil the ending yet, but you know, interesting.
I would love to see what their other ending was going to be, like what they had thought of for escalation.
Yeah, same. So the game had been in development since at least 2013, and Giant Sparrow initially partnered with Sony Computer Entertainment. It was first announced on stage at PSX in 2014 that it was going to be published by Santa Monica Studio.
Oh.
And they released another trailer at E3 2015. Now, something really interesting happened. So Sony started to wane on its support for independently developed video games, and so Santa Monica Studios dropped the title from its lineup. However, several people that had been at Santa Monica Studios working with Giant Sparrow left the studio to form Annapurna Interactive.
Oh.
Which then became the game's new publisher. Annapurna relaxed some of the deadlines that Sony had originally for the title, allowing Giant Sparrow to keep and refine some of the more significant mini experiences they created, and would have otherwise had to cut under a tighter schedule. So that's really interesting. We don't see that, at least with a lot of the games that we've picked, a story like this. So I thought that was really interesting. The reception was generally positive across the board, receiving 8s and 9s from large outlets. It won several awards for Best Narrative, and it sold more than 1 million units from what I can tell. There's no official numbers anywhere, but by looking at Steam Spy and some other places, it's definitely sold over 1 million units, or appears to be, but it's not officially mentioned anywhere. So I would say it was successful. I don't think they've announced their next project, Giant Sparrow. I couldn't find anything. I'm curious when and what they will announce. I would hope that they have something else cooking at that studio. So yeah, that's like a little, overview of the game and how it was developed, and a little bit about the developer and publisher. And now, well, before moving on, before we get into spoiler territory, we're going to be in spoiler territory for a bit. Is there anything you guys want to add about that you guys saw or read that you thought was interesting about the history of the development?
No. I want to talk about the story.
All right. So, gonna put on our spoiler tag here, and we're gonna dive in to the story. So if you do not want to be spoiled on the story of this game, if you plan on playing it, please leave now, and I highly suggest you can just put it on mute, and when you see the spoiler tag, go away. If you're watching live, you'll know to come back. Or in the VOD, there will be a tag, so you'll be able to know. Okay, so the story starts out with the player taking a ferry to Orcas Island off the coast of Washington State, carrying a journal. And through the journal, and while walking around in the house, Edith explains the deaths of the cursed family while the character writes in the journal. Each bedroom of the deceased family member is kept as a memorial by Edith's grandmother, but are sealed off with just a peephole. And as you explore the house, you start to learn more and more about the death of each family member. Now, I think what I'm going to do is we're just going to go through the family members really quick and talk about them. That way everyone can comment on like, oh yeah, this one was really neat, or So I start with Molly. So Molly is the first daughter of Sven and Edie. She was a young child who wakes up in the middle of the night starving, and she was sent to bed without any dinner. She ends up eating a lot of things, some holly berries,
which are poisonous.
Yeah, a tube of toothpaste,
also poisonous.
Yeah, and her story is told by the player becoming a cat. She gets hungry, and then a shark, and lastly a monster. And like Mock said, with the berries and toothpaste being poisonous, she ends up dying a couple days later.
At age 10.
Yep, at age 10, very young. Just stop me whenever you guys want to talk about the specific gameplay of that moment or anything you want to add.
This one was the first one, and I hated it because I didn't want... You have to kill animals, and I didn't really want to kill animals. And there's even like an achievement, like, kill the animals so efficiently. It's like, no, I'm not going to try that over and over again.
It was a very interesting start to the game. Like, I had started this, somebody gifted this to me some time ago, and I got through that section, and I was just like, what am I playing? Because it's such a whimsical and, like, it's got a very joyous, whimsical tone, but you're doing pretty dark stuff. You're, like, eating really cute animals, and then like, as a monster, you're eating people. It's just like, oh my god, like, this is... I feel like this should feel darker than it feels right now. And then you crawl into your own room and wake up in your bed, and it's like, hey, the monster I was just being is about to eat me. And it's like, I did not know how to feel after I played that level, but it definitely left me with a lot of feelings, conflicted feelings.
Yeah, it was interesting. Next, let's move on to Odin. He's the eldest member of the family. He brought the family and the family house to the USA from Norway.
How?
I don't know how.
What path did he take?
It doesn't, like... Did he go all the way around South America? Panama Canal? Like, what?
I think a lot of the characters in here have stories that are bigger than real life.
Yeah.
But so he's probably got some legends that are not true.
Yeah. And his goal was to escape the family curse, only to bring it with him. He wouldn't survive the trip as there was a massive storm. There's no like segment that you play associated with Odin, but you do read a lot about him, and you also see the house that didn't make it,
which is the one that he died in. Well, on.
Yeah. Calvin is the second son of Sven and Edie. Calvin was really interested in space and the unknown, and he would attempt to swing himself fully around a tree and would end up flying into the ocean, killing himself.
So you play... I liked it because it was his brother writing a poem about him or whatever, like a story.
Yeah.
I was very sentimental. Like, his brother cared so much, he built a little shrine about him, I guess.
Yeah.
Especially because you learn about that brother later, and he's like totally the opposite.
Yeah, he is.
I feel bad. I was recording the gameplay for this, and I was playing mouse and keyboard, but my controller was sitting on my desk, turned on.
Mm-hmm.
And so the vibration during that scene got so significant that the controller fell off of my desk and onto my keyboard.
Whoa.
Like at the peak of the story, and paused the game.
Oh my god.
So I apologize for that showing up in the video. But
what did you guys play this on?
I played
PC?
it on Xbox Series X.
I assume it's the same with the controller, but you swing by using each stick for his leg. Like each stick controls each leg to get him to swing around, and you have to like move him forward and move your legs back like a real swing. Because he has one leg is broken, and I'm right-handed, so I tend towards my right hand, and I was using the right stick, and only his like broken leg was flopping around, and I was like, what am I doing wrong? Why is his other leg broken? Anyway, I thought that was a cute idea to like have it be one control, like one stick controls each leg.
I started it off and I did it incorrectly, and so my swing was all, wonky whenever like you swing improperly, and it's like uneven, and you're kind of like shaking everywhere.
And also like so you're swinging, and as you swing, he reads the story, his brother reads the story, and you can see where it's going. I assumed he would just leap off of the
same.
Yeah, so you're controlling this kid towards his death. It happens like a couple times in the stories, and I didn't like that.
You don't like controlling the death. What do you mean? Like you don't like leading that person to their death?
Yeah, to knowingly to death. I mean, I know we're playing history, but it was very chilling to like, oh my god, like I don't want to swing anymore, but that's how you progress the game. So you have to kill the kid you're playing as to progress the game.
That's true.
You do it like 6 times. We'll get there.
Well, we will. We'll get there.
Yeah.
Barbara was the second daughter of Sven and Edie. Barbara was a child movie star, and her death is told in a Tales from the Crypt way in a comic book format. This was definitely, for me, the most interesting, method of telling a story. John Carpenter was actually going to narrate it, however, there wasn't enough time, but he didn't end up giving them the rights to the Halloween theme, which can be heard.
Yes.
Which was so cool.
Yes. Yeah. Barbara ends up getting... Her story is really interesting. She's going to like a convention, or she's about to go, and so she has this infamous scream, and her boyfriend at the time is trying to like help her with this scream, and she's not doing a good job of it, and her boyfriend plays a prank on her, and you hear on the radio that this like killer's on the loose, this group of terrorizing hoodlums, I think is what they call them.
Yes.
Are like on the loose, and Barbara's getting like freaked out, and she hears all these noises. You go upstairs, and like it's like a surprise party, and you feel like it's a surprise party, but they end up killing you, and she screams. She does her infamous scream, and she dies. And Walter, at the time, is a child, and we'll kind of lead into him after we talk about Barbara. But at the time, I thought this was going to be my favorite story. It ended up not being, but at the time, when I got to this part, I'm like, they can't top this. Like, there's no topping this, but they did. But wow, I mean, it was amazing.
It was very, very. That's what kind of let me know you can't really know what to expect.
Yeah.
As you continue through this game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked that you got to like interact with things. This was like the one part of the game where you could like, I don't know, like mess up stuff, because I normally like playing like source games where you can pick up everything and throw it or destroy it and like, move benches and cups and just all the clutter that's around the world around. And I kept trying to do that around the house because there's so much clutter everywhere. Yeah. But you can't, so I was very upset. But then at one point during her story, you get to pick up her boyfriend Rick's crutch, which she uses as a weapon, and you could just swing it anywhere and just destroy stuff and hit stuff, and you get I think you get an achievement for hitting a table, like a pool ball.
Yeah, for clearing the whole pool table.
It was funny. I liked, the whole point of the game, I guess, is the different control schemes, but I liked that this one had some destructive elements.
Yeah, it was really fun. Now Walter, he's the third son of Sven and Edie. Walter, after the death of Barbara, he ends up spending 30 years underground and like what appears to be like a fallout shelter.
Yeah. It's worth noting he was hiding under his bed while ostensibly Barbara got cannibalized by a group of terrorizing hoodlums and
Yes.
he overheard everything.
So he's a bit scarred. He's had some trauma. So
Yeah.
he, every day, I think it's at noon, when
Yeah.
he's eating, he feels and hears like what appears to be like a train. And eventually he doesn't hear it anymore. So he decides, okay, he's going to leave. And he goes outside, and then boom, he gets struck by a train.
Ugh.
Walter, the devs actually, like, Walter was the story they spent the most time on.
You're kidding.
No, they, like, not as far as development goes, but as far as, like, how are we going to tell this story? They were thinking of different ways. I don't remember what one of them involved, like, a model train. But, yeah.
Trying to make it more, like, playful.
Yeah. I did not
Gotcha.
really like Walter's story that much. Like, I thought it was cool. I have this, like, weird, I don't know if it's like a fantasy, but just like idea of like what would it be like to live in a fallout shelter for like a long period of time. Just like I think it would be like a really interesting experience. And this was kind of cool to see, like, to experience a little bit of that and like what that's like. And it looks like it gets boring really fast. But
Well,
yeah.
so he goes into the bunker. I think he stayed there like 30 years.
30
Over
years.
30 years.
Mhm,
40-something, 30-something years. 37 maybe.
It was a long time.
Yeah.
He eats canned peaches the whole time.
yeah, it
and,
does.
Like, I didn't get that it was a train. I thought it was like some actual, like, or I thought almost he was like imagining something vibrating above him, like it was a bomb dropping or something to justify why he's in this bunker.
Yeah.
But he has like a very calm voice as he's telling you like the story of his life. But the horrifying thing is that he's living under the house while Edith, the main character, is living her life as a kid above in the house. She never even knew about this guy until he died, and then she comes back and learns it at the same time you learn about it.
Yeah, she just knows that like her grandma has been like
Bringing stuff down there.
Yeah.
And you're like, you're not supposed to go down there. It's locked. So you only get down there after like you learn about it in the previous story.
Yeah, about the key. Yeah. Sam was the first son of Sven and Edie. Sam goes with Dawn on a hunting trip, and he pressures Dawn to shoot a deer on a ridge.
Dawn being Edith's mom.
Yep. And after killing the deer, he's trying to do like a pose with the deer, and the deer ends up getting up and knocks him off the ridge, killing him. This was Ashley's favorite story, my girlfriend's
You're
favorite.
joking.
No. 'Cause she's like,
What?
good, he deserved it.
Oh, but you have to, again,
my
the
God.
same thing. I'm like, I know I have to shoot this stupid deer. I can't move on with the game unless I shoot this stupid deer.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
If it's so stupid, why'd you feel bad for shooting?
I just like don't want to. I mean, it was horrible.
I thought this one was really interesting how they told it through the like camera pictures. I
Yeah.
liked that.
My only complaint about it was sometimes I didn't really understand like what I was supposed to take a picture of.
Yeah. One time it's to take a
Mhm.
picture of him peeing, and it's not clear like why you're doing that, or that you should do that. It seems kind of
Yeah.
weird. Yeah. And Sam actually lived to be pretty old. I mean, he had a daughter and stuff, so
33.
yeah.
No.
Gregory,
Wait.
bit older.
69. I don't remember.
Gregory,
Did
well,
Go ahead. Sorry. I thought he died rather early. You keep going. You go.
I mean, Gregory is the second son of Sam and Kay. During a bath as a young child, Gregory drowns himself while playing with his toys. Kay isn't there to save him as she keeps getting distracted by Sam, who's calling. It is heavily implied that his death led to the divorce of Sam and Kay. This one was beautiful, yet sad.
Yeah.
I mean, the gameplay of this section was amazing, I thought. Like, it was so cool. And I thought something bad was going to happen, and like, you're like, oh no, he's going to drown. And then Kay turns the water off, or drains the water, and so you're like, oh, everything's fine. And then you have to drown yourself by turning the water back on. And you have this like wonderful experience while you're drowning, where you see all the little toys come to life and stuff, and so
They kind of mentioned that he would laugh at things that just weren't there.
Yeah.
Like there was a world that he could see that something that just the funniest things that were happening that nobody else could see, and so you get to experience that throughout your bath as well as you drown.
I have this theory because we'll talk about the other kid later who also seemed psychotic.
You're talking about Lewis? Is
that, yeah. Like, there's schizophrenia in the family, and this kid was like, early psychosis. That's my theory.
Okay.
That's cool. Moving on to Gus. He was the first son of Sam and Kay, and Gus, he's the one who controls the kite at the remarriage of Sam. And it's a very windy day, and as wind picks up, debris starts flying around, and it's implied that the debris kills Gus. This was my least favorite little experience. I just was like, okay, I'm gonna fly this kite, and that was kind of it. It was it wasn't that great, but
you have to like reveal letters, and it wasn't always clear what you needed to activate.
Yeah,
and you could see a mile away like something's gonna happen. He's gonna die because of this kite.
Now we're gonna start getting into the really cool ones, I think. Milton. So he was the second son of Sanjay and Dawn, which is Edith's mom. Milton was confirmed to be the same character as the king from The Unfinished Swan.
Which was obvious, but anyway, keep going.
And Milton disappeared for unknown reasons in 2013. And you get to watch like a flip book, and he jumps through like a door, and he disappears. And he's an artist. And so I don't know that much about The Unfinished Swan, but I know it has to do with like painting.
Well, so you control, I guess, someone, and you have like I just call it a paintball gun. I didn't finish the game, but I played a lot of it. And you are in this white like world, and then you make black paint, and then you can use the black paint to like reveal where you're supposed to go. So the whole world is white until you paint it black, and then you can kind of see where you're supposed to go, because otherwise everything just looks the same. But there's a little model of the white, like the castle area in his little house, in his little room. So when I saw that, I was like, look, it's The Unfinished Swan. And I didn't put it together that this game was made by the same people. And I was like, wait, why is that? Oh, this must have been made by the same people. And then I Googled that, and I was like, wait, like, why? What? This kid disappeared? This guy's totally like involved with The Unfinished Swan. And then that's when I looked it up on the Wikipedia, and I was like, yes, confirmed.
Yep.
I like when they do stuff like that, like allow things to exist in the same universe.
Yeah, and little callbacks to previous games.
Yeah,
it's great.
So fun.
Now it comes to my favorite, Lewis. Lewis was the first son of Sanjay and Dawn, and he worked in a cannery. And he would fantasize about a world where he was like the ruler or in charge of some sort of king. And his gameplay was phenomenal. Like I want a game that is what you were doing on the game part of that. So
I was so attentive, and they didn't give you an achievement for it.
I know. Like for steering the boat properly, or like I don't know. It would have been really cool if there was Oh man. But anyway, you're basically control a person through like an action RPG sort of like it starts off like 2D, right? And then it goes to like 2.5 and then 3D. Little experience where your character running through some towns and caves and stuff. But at the same time, you're chopping off fish's heads at the cannery. And you control one with the left stick and one with the right stick, and it was really interesting.
Well, so first you're just chopping heads off at the cannery with your right hand. All you see is the hand, and you just grab a fish on the left side of the screen, move it to the right, and then throw the fish off up. So it's just a constant like move your hand left, right, up. And then on the top left corner, you start to see like the little glimmer as the psychiatrist or psychologist, whatever, starts talking about his like inner life. And then so first it's like just a little man walking around in a maze, very simplistic, like you're saying. And then like the cloud starts to get bigger and bigger and take over the entire screen. And then you're chopping fish on the same screen as like you're walking around in this like, fantasy world. And you feel the dread because you see that chopper chopping, and there's blood everywhere.
Being super careful With the fish?
No, because I was slamming control sticks everywhere so I could get all the fish because they just overwhelm you with fish.
They do towards the
I
end.
was making sure I was like, I'm not putting my hand that deep over there. They're waiting for me to mess up. So I was trying to be super careful while also being fast. And they still took me by surprise for how that ended.
So Mox, like, he has like an illusion that would lead him to his own suicide, right? You would say?
I was thinking about this a lot because first, that little kid, and then also, like, we started playing, and I was like, obviously, this guy has schizophrenia. He's, like, they were talking about how he does his job very well at the cannery, which is a very simple motion and doesn't require a lot of, like, I don't know, motor or skill in your brain.
Yeah.
So he's a great worker because he doesn't do anything. He just does his job, which is very typical of someone with schizophrenia, where you don't have, like, a lot of thoughts, negativism. You just, like, not a lot goes on in your brain because there's other stuff going on. But he also has, like, this, like you said, an illusion. It's not an illusion. It's a delusion that he's like, he needs to do something else with his brain. He's actually this king of this land in his brain. This land in his brain is real. And eventually he resolves that if he kills himself in the physical world at the cannery, he'll be transported to the land in his brain. And the way the psychologist talks about him too, the way he talks to her is, he seems like he's a little disorganized. And I wish I wrote down some of the quotes she had said, but it was just like a heartbreaking story. And people with schizophrenia are like probably the highest likelihood to die of suicide because they'll have a lot of suicide attempts, but they'll also successfully kill themselves. So anyway, he kills himself by it implies that he puts his head underneath the thing that chops off the heads of the salmon.
Yeah, what a way to go. Like, I hope that thing was sharp. Jeez.
Well,
he also,
go ahead.
he was doing, he was the one who lived in the boat, right?
Yeah. He would.
So it was implied that he was doing a lot of drugs as well, which probably wasn't helping.
A lot of drugs, yeah.
Yeah.
And PSA, I mean, he was doing a lot of marijuana, which, everybody thinks is like a very benign drug, which it mostly is, but marijuana is one of the most highest likelihood to, set off someone's underlying psychosis. So if you have any sort of, family history of schizophrenia, you probably shouldn't do weed. But it's just like such a heartbreaking story.
Little PSA here on Video Game Club.
The Video Game Club after school special.
No.
But it was a sad story, but I feel like the gameplay part of that story was really good. And
also the music.
Yes. And what's interesting is that this is the last gameplay mini story that you do. And we're going to talk about Edie and Dawn and Edith, of course. It was, to me, it looked like it was building up. They kept going, from Gus. Now, Milton really wasn't anything, but like from Gus to Lewis. And before that was Gregory. It was building. I think it would be interesting to see like what is the next level above Lewis as far as this build-up goes.
Well, I was waiting for like the final reveal to be something like compelling, like schizophrenia, like a Senua's Sacrifice kind of implies that.
Oh, right.
That's kind of that's totally what I was thinking of this whole entire game. Like, okay, this whole thing's schizophrenia. That's what the family like curse is. Blah blah blah. It's gonna be a mental health PSA. No, it wasn't. Sorry, keep going.
No, you're good. So Edie and Dawn. So Edith, which not to be confused with Edie, different people. But Edith and Dawn leave the house after Lewis's death, and Dawn wants to escape the curse. So she leaves after having an argument with her mother, Edith, right?
No,
now
Edie is the grandmother.
Okay.
Edith is the character you play.
Yeah. Edith doesn't want to leave and ends up reading a story about Edie that is given to her. Dawn, Edith's mother, forces them to leave anyway, and Dawn dies shortly after from an unexpected illness.
No.
Well,
Edie dies.
No.
Oh.
No.
Okay, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, Edith's mom dies, right? And then Dawn explains as she's leaving that a van would come by to pick up Edie and take her to a nursing home. And the van shows up. Nobody's there. It is implied that alcohol mixed with Edie's medicine killed her. You remember at that dinner?
Yeah, but she knowingly drank the alcohol.
Yeah. But maybe
So
she overdid
herself.
it, when her child and grandchild leave her. maybe she continues drinking.
And then she probably walked into the ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be at her house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did we discuss that the old house sank in the ocean yet?
Yeah, that was part of the Odin story.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
it doesn't
Well,
make
I liked it.
They have to build a
Yeah.
new house. They build the cemetery first.
Creepy.
Yeah.
It's really creepy. So when Dawn passes, she leaves a key to the Finch home with Edith, and Edith returns to the house to explore and write in her journal. And Edith dies during the birth of her son, Christopher. And what you see after that, well, you get to be born, first of all. 10 out of 10 would
Gross.
be born again.
Hated it.
That was so great.
I hated it.
You hated being born?
My partner was like, "Is this a birth canal?" And I was like, I hate this.
But I mean, it was your second time being born.
I didn't ask for this.
You're a born again Mox.
But you end up seeing like a scene of Christopher laying flowers on Edith's grave at the house.
Who put it there?
Who put her grave there?
Yeah,
Good question.
because Edie is the one who put everybody else's stuff there.
Yeah. It's a good question.
Who put Dawn's thing there?
Probably whoever got her pregnant.
Mhm.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's the other thing. You don't know anything about Christopher's dad. What I really liked about this game is that when you look down, you can see that you're pregnant. But they don't tell you explicitly that you're pregnant until later on. But every time I play a first-person game, I like to look down first and be like, "Can I see my feet?"
Yeah, I do the same.
What kind of shoes am I wearing? But yeah, that's. Do you guys have any more spoilery stuff you want to
Yes,
touch on?
you
Okay.
missed the creepy thing that.
Creepy thing.
So Edie for the longest time, really, it was just Edie, Dawn, and Edith living in this house, this big, enormous house, where instead of, I don't know, the reasonable thing of clearing out someone's room when they die mysteriously,
I said that.
they just. I know. I'm just.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
I'm expounding. They build another room on top of this very precarious tower-like house. So they are surrounded by all these dead people's stuff, and Edie is just very addicted to like preserving the past.
Mhm.
And so to spite her grandmother? No, mom. Dawn seals up every room with that gross yellow expanding foam glue stuff you've played with. Yeah. And then to spite her daughter, Edie goes and puts peepholes in every room. And then I still don't understand how this came into play. Maybe you can explain it. There's somehow all these little tunnels and, roots behind the walls. And what's his name? Milton is everywhere. He's painted his little king image everywhere in all these little passageways. So even though the rooms are all locked up, you can get in there anyway. And somehow none of the food is spoiled or rotted after 50 years, and nothing is dusty.
As far as the house having secret passages and stuff, I think that was whenever they were making it, that was one of the things that. Who made that house? It was Sven, right?
And his wife, I believe.
Yeah, that was
Odin's
something.
daughter.
Yeah, that was something that.
No, Ingeborg or something. She helped too, right?
Ingeborg is Odin's
wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was something
Edie's
that
mom.
that whoever built it, they talk about that a little bit, how they were into building some secret passages. As far as paintings everywhere, I don't think that was ever explained. Also, it has a little school at the top. Do you guys remember that?
Yes, that's Dawn's quote unquote room.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of weird. I don't know.
I was waiting for the denouement to be the whole house crumbling and, Edith dying in the rubble. But that didn't happen.
That did not happen. Spoilers.
I know. I have so much more to say, but we can move on.
Any more spoilery stuff for you, Austin?
No, I don't think so. I think this about covered it.
All right. So the spoilers tag off. Let's talk about our personal experiences, and I'm going to start. I thought this was an amazing experience. The game for me never really got boring. It was always interesting, always little hideouts that you were finding, shortcuts and stuff, and the rooms were really interesting because they were preserved. by far, like I mentioned before in the spoiler section, my favorite story was about the cannery. The music I thought was really, really good. The visuals were really good. There was like some weird pop-in stuff on Xbox, at least when it was loading, which is expected, but like the visuals were just amazing. The house, I think, is a huge character in this game. How it looks, how you explore it, how it's preserved, what's in it, just everything. And I thought the house was so cool. Like the whole time I'm playing it, my girlfriend's watching me and she's like, I want to live in a house like that. I'm like, me too.
What?
It just looks
there's junk. Keep going.
It just looks so great. I think this would make a really good like TV miniseries where you explore every family member and how they die. Maybe with like some more added detail. But overall, like for me, like I would recommend everyone play this game. It's not very long. You know, if you're gonna sit down and watch a movie, but you know, you have like maybe you're gonna watch Return of the King, so you know you have that time set. I would play this instead. I would sit down with your friend, significant other, mom, dad, brother, sister, whoever, cat, guinea pig, dog, snake, whatever you have. And I would play this game because it was definitely worth giving it a go, and I think everyone would enjoy it, except Mox. Which Mox, let's go to you next. Oh, by the way, I would say 10 out of 10 for me.
You're kidding.
No,
wow.
No, I highly recommend this game.
Well, I mean, I appreciate the game for its artistic merits. I had looked up the composer because it sounded familiar, and he does the music for Legion. Which is an excellent show and has a similar kind of like bizarre, like you don't know what's real, you don't know what's fake, but that's okay because it's superheroes. But anyway,
I believe Fargo too.
Yeah, but I don't watch that. It's too violent.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. Sorry. But I really like his music on Legion, and he also does Umbrella Academy. But anyway, I really like the stories individually. I was really waiting for something to bring them all together, like I was talking about, like, you know, with the various theories I had come up with during the way. And I like when stories come together with like a satisfying and surprising unifying idea. It doesn't have to be overly complicated, but just something to kind of like pull the thread closed, as it were. And that didn't happen. And I understand like that's the point of the game, which is why I didn't overall enjoy it. So I would give like the game overall like a 7, but I would give like, if I had to rate each individual story, there would definitely be some 10s. Like I really enjoyed Lewis's, like you said. I would definitely give Molly's a 0 because I don't want to be forced to kill animals. But I really liked the guy in the train who lived underground. I forget his.
Walter.
I would give his a 10 as well. But overall, I wish that there was a more unifying theme because I like when things are more explicit rather than like, oh, you know, you figure it out. You decide. Up to you. But it was very well made.
I still think I'm being trolled, but
the pieces of the game that make it, you know, a game that I would like, I liked, but I like when there's a very deep story that's interesting and unexpected.
For those of you that have been watching Video Game Club since the beginning, I think you would all agree that this should be a Mox game, a Mox 1.5.
Oh my god.
A 10 out of 10 for the Mox, and so she's either trolling or she's telling the truth. You guys decide.
Oh my god.
Austin, what about you?
I really liked this game. I think it was the perfect length. It's about 2 to 3 hours, depending on how much you want to really explore the house. I at first was worried that I was going to have to go look around for like specific details or I was going to miss things. And really, it's mostly pretty linear. I
agree.
The beginning makes you feel that because there's a branching path in the very beginning, and it makes you feel like you're going to have to do that, but it ends up not being that. But yeah. Go ahead.
Which is great design. Keep going.
And so I can get kind of a panic of like, I can't leave this area behind because I haven't explored everything yet. And then once I kind of settled into the realization that I could just move through and go experience each story without having to really worry about exploring the house itself, I think that was a big moment for me. I liked that a lot.
That's a great point.
Yeah. I loved the floating text. The narration was good. It was a little jarring when I would be trying to look at something and then it would rip my camera over to the floating text. It was like, okay, It's good that I'm not missing that, but also sometimes it would happen frequently and it got a little annoying. I still think it was the right decision to make, because I also freak out about missing things that are around me. Like when you're in a first person view and there's things that could be happening anywhere. Like if I'm playing Halo and there's a big ship collision that's happening behind me that I'm not looking at. I'm just like, oh, I missed it. So it was a bit annoying, but I also see why it was there. And I think ultimately it was the right decision. The mini games themselves were really good. They also, it was such an interesting balance to strike between telling a tragic story of someone's death and making it a really joyous mini game, something very whimsical and something that's going to put a big smile on your face. And it's like, why am I smiling about this person dying? And so it was a constant changing of feelings that I was having. And I kept on not knowing how I should feel, but it's a game I'm never going to forget. That's for sure. I was playing mouse and keyboard originally. I switched to controller about halfway through, and I highly recommend playing this with a controller because it seems like it was built for that. I figured that it would be mouse and keyboard because it's first person. You're exploring a house. It's not very intricate controls, but the mini games themselves are pretty built around using the controller. I specifically realized that once I was playing Gregory's scene in the bathtub. That is not a good scene to play with mouse and keyboard.
I can't imagine how I could barely even figure it out with my controller.
But it feels weird giving this game a score, but I guess if I had to give it a score, I would give it either a high 8 or a 9.
Gotcha.
Probably leaning towards a 9. I think it was the perfect length for what it was. It constantly was surprising me, and I liked the overall theme running through it, and the ending wasn't amazing. I thought it was a good ending. It was a satisfying ending for me. I would have really liked to have seen what their escalated ending would have been.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it was a good way to finish it out after the wild ride of some of what she went through. For me,
I have a question for the group here. You guys have all played Gone Home, right? Or know of it?
Yes, but I don't remember it.
Oh, okay. I'm just curious, to the player who played Gone Home and wasn't that into it, would you recommend them this game? I would. I think it's different.
They're different
enough.
games.
Well, yeah. But if you can easily look at this and be like walking simulator, right?
It's
without
not,
knowing
though.
too much about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't call this a walking simulator. That's how I told everyone about it, but no, I would take that back.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, you don't actually spend a whole lot of the time walking between the games.
Yeah, it's a lot of playing.
It's a bit of time, but it's paced pretty well that you're going to get to the next one pretty fast.
Yeah.
And you're calling them mini games that. That's what they are. I feel like it's a mini that's a great way to describe.
Or mini scenes or something.
Yeah, that's a great way to describe it because each one had its own control scheme and had different goals.
Yeah.
There must be a game series that's a series of mini games, but they all come together. That's what this is.
This is the most depressing game of Mario Party I've ever played.
All right. Well, that was What Remains of Edith Finch. Our next game will be Putt Putt Travels Through Time. Just kidding. Gotcha. It's going to be Hacknet. Austin supposedly has a lot to talk about this game.
I accidentally swung the vote on this,
oh my gosh.
So I apologize because Putt Putt was winning,
voting.
and I do love Putt Putt.
It only took one meme.
I put a meme out there, and Hacknet ended up swinging pretty hard.
How long did it take you to make the meme?
It took me about 30 seconds.
Okay. Wow.
Thank you, everyone who voted, even those votes that were swayed to vote Hacknet. Thank you so much. It's because of you guys that we get to decide on one of these games to play. So thank you so much.
Yay. Thank you.
And thank you, everyone, for joining the stream and listening to the VOD. The next stream will be on January 17th at 2 o'clock Eastern. Before we leave, Austin, is there anything Bombchu is working on or coming up that you want to mention?
It's a new year. We're getting together after the holidays. Oh my goodness!
You really
Lena,
put him on the spot.
Whoa, yeah.
The bits.
Lena, thank you so much for the bits.
We've got our humble reviews coming out. Video Game Club is obviously now showing on the Bombchu Twitch, and there's some things in the works that I'm not going to spoil. I know that I've been chatting about with you, Tyler.
Yeah.
So I'll wait until you're ready to talk about that.
I'm not ready yet, but when maybe by the 17th I'll be ready to at least talk about it. Start. Yeah.
Okay.
I want to plug. I just want to say that I chose the games that I chose, which were Erica, Hacknet, and Putt Putt Travels Through Time. I chose them because they had interesting play styles, different from our third-person styles. So I'm excited to focus on that a little bit, hopefully, next time. That's my theme. I chose a theme.
Okay.
It's a new thing. We're trying it.
All right. We're doing it. We're doing it live. Austin.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you too so much.
Thank you. I had so much fun.
I'm Tyler, and this was Video Game Club, episode 14, What Remains of Edith Finch. And we're out. I'd like to give a special shout out to Michael Slater, Blake Harms, and all of our patrons over on Patreon. Thank you, and thank everyone for watching.